The council chamber floated in the darkness of space like a jewel. It orbited the neutral world of Prime, a station so old that some species had forgotten who built it. Inside the massive hall, representatives from 847 species gathered. Their seats rose in circular tiers, creating an arena where the fate of civilizations was decided. At the center stood Ax, the council's speaker. His crystalline body caught the light from 1,000 sources, throwing rainbow patterns across the walls. He had held this position for 3 centuries, longer than most species had known space travel. His voice, when he spoke, resonated through translation devices in a way that made every word feel ancient and absolute. Today, the council would welcome its member, or rather, they would inform the species of their obligations. The human ship appeared on the viewing screens. It was small, old, and clearly repaired many times. Patches covered its hull where meteor strikes had damaged the metal. Compared to the sleek vessels that surrounded it, the human craft looked like it belonged in a museum. Several council members made sounds of amusement in their various languages. "They come in that," one representative whispered. "Give them time," another replied. "They all learn eventually." The airlock opened. Ambassador Daniel Brooks walked through, followed by his aide, Lisa Morgan. Daniel was a tall man with gray hair at his temples and steady eyes. He wore a simple black suit with Earth's symbol on the shoulder, a blue and green sphere. Lisa carried a data pad, her young face serious as she scanned the enormous chamber. They were directed to a platform in the center of the room, directly below Ax. The crystalline being looked down at them with what might have been curiosity or might have been boredom. It was hard to tell with his species. "Humans of Earth," Ax began, his voice filling every corner of the space. "You have been granted the honor of joining the Galactic Council. For 3,000 years, we have maintained peace and order across this galaxy. We have protected trade routes. We have prevented wars. We have lifted countless species from barbarism into civilization." Daniel listened without expression. Lisa's fingers moved across her data pad, recording everything. "To maintain this peace," Ax continued, "all member species contribute according to their abilities. This is not a burden but a privilege. The tribute you pay ensures your protection, your place in galactic society, and access to markets spanning 1,000 worlds." A holographic document appeared in the air before Daniel. It rotated slowly, page after page of terms and requirements. The text shifted through several languages before settling on English. Daniel read in silence. His face remained calm, but Lisa saw his jaw tighten slightly. 40% of all refined metals," Daniel said aloud. 30% of agricultural output. The right to conscript human soldiers for Council military operations. Genetic samples from our population for Council research. Territorial rights to any moons or planets we might colonize. Technology sharing with no reciprocal exchange. "Standard terms," Ax confirmed. "The same offered to all species upon joining. Non-negotiable, of course. These terms have maintained peace for." Daniel looked up at the speaker. "And if a species refuses?" A ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Some species made noises of shock, others laughed. The concept seemed to confuse them. "No species refuses," Ax said. His tone suggested the question itself was strange. To refuse is to choose isolation, blockades, economic collapse. Those who do not contribute to galactic peace find themselves outside its protection. History shows this is an unwise choice. "How many species have tried?" Lisa asked quietly. Ax turned his attention to her. 7 in Council history. 3 accepted terms after their economies failed. 2 were occupied until they agreed. 2 were eliminated as examples. The casual way he said eliminated made Lisa's blood run cold. "I see," Daniel said. He looked at the document again, scrolling through hundreds of pages. "These terms are presented as protection, but they look more like conquest to me." Ambassador Brooks, Axe said, and now there was a warning in his voice. You are new to galactic society. You do not understand how things work. Every species pays tribute. Every species benefits. This is the way of civilization. Civilization built on taking 40% of what others produce, Daniel asked. Civilization built on cooperation, Axe corrected. The Council provides services worth far more than the tribute collected. Daniel looked around the chamber at the hundreds of species watching him. Most looked bored. Some looked sympathetic. A few looked uncomfortable, though they said nothing. I need to consult with my government, Daniel said finally. This is not a decision I can make alone. Axe made a sound like grinding stone. Very well. You have one planetary rotation by prime cycle, 26 of your Earth hours. The Council does not wait longer. We reconvene tomorrow and you will accept the terms. Or, Daniel asked. There is no or ambassador. Species join the Council or they exist outside it. There is no third option. I suggest you use your time wisely. The platform lowered, carrying Daniel and Lisa back to floor level. As they walked toward the exit, Daniel noticed a few representatives watching them with interest. One, a small reptilian being with dark green scales, met his eyes briefly. There was something in that look, something Daniel could not quite identify. Understanding, perhaps, or warning. Back on their ship, Lisa sealed the door and let out a long breath. They expect us to just say yes. They've been doing this for thousands of years, Daniel said, removing his jacket. Every species says yes. Why would we be different? Because we are different, Lisa said. She activated her data pad, pulling up files. I've been reading their history. Every species that paid tribute stopped advancing. They became dependent on Council technology, Council trade, Council everything. None of them ever caught up. It's a trap, Daniel said, sitting down heavily. A comfortable cage. What are you going to tell Earth? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Outside the viewport, the Council station gleamed. It was beautiful and ancient and powerful. It represented the combined might of hundreds of worlds, technology beyond anything humanity had yet achieved, and resources that made Earth's entire economy look like pocket change. I'm going to tell them the truth, Daniel said finally, that we have a choice to make. We can join and give up our freedom, or we can refuse and face whatever comes. They'll blockade us, maybe worse. I know. We might lose everything. I know that too. Daniel looked at Lisa. But humanity didn't crawl out of caves and survive ice ages and build civilizations just to hand it all over to someone else. We fought too hard to get here. Lisa nodded slowly. So what do we tell them tomorrow? Daniel stood and looked out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, small and blue and fragile, but it was home. It was free, and he intended to keep it that way. Tomorrow, he said, we give them our answer. The ship's engines hummed in the silence. Outside, the Council station waited, confident and patient. It had seen this play out hundreds of times before. Species always chose survival over pride. They always chose prosperity over principle. But the Council had never met humanity before. Daniel spent the rest of the night composing his message to Earth. He chose his words carefully, knowing they would decide not just his planet's fate but possibly the fate of every species that came after. When he finished, he sent the encrypted transmission and waited for the reply. It came 6 hours later. President Helen Carter's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired but determined. We've reviewed the terms, she said. The entire United Earth Council agrees. We didn't fight our way to the stars to become someone's tributary. Tell them no, Daniel. Tell them humanity bows to no one. Daniel closed the transmission and allowed himself a small smile. Then he began preparing for tomorrow, knowing that whatever came next, humanity would face it standing tall. The Council chamber filled again as Prime completed its rotation. The representatives took their seats with the lazy confidence of those who had seen this ceremony hundreds of times. Some were already reviewing trade agreements for Earth's resources. Others discussed which human technologies they wanted access to first. At the viewing screens, betting pools formed. The delegation wagered Earth would accept within 5 minutes. They gave humanity 10 minutes before capitulation. No one bet on refusal. That simply did not happen. Axe stood at his position, the ancient papers of acceptance ready. They were ceremonial, of course. Everything was digital now. But tradition mattered in the council, and the signing of tribute papers had been done this way for thousands of years. The human ship docked again. Daniel Brooks and Lisa Morgan walked through the same airlock, wearing the same simple uniforms, but something was different. Daniel walked with his head high, his stride purposeful. Lisa no longer looked nervous. She looked ready. The platform rose again, lifting them to the center of attention. Every eye in the chamber focused on them. The weight of galactic civilization pressed down from all sides. Ambassador Brooks, Axe began, his crystalline voice warm with what passed for friendliness in his species. Have you consulted with your government? Are you prepared to accept the terms and join the council as a full member? I have consulted with Earth, Daniel said clearly. His voice carried through the chamber, amplified by the translation systems so every species heard him in their own language. President Carter and the United Earth Council have reviewed your terms carefully. They asked me to convey their response. Axe gestured to the ceremonial papers. Then please step forward and sign. Welcome to galactic civilization. The answer is no. The word hung in the air like a physical thing. For a moment, absolute silence filled the chamber. Then chaos erupted. Representatives shouted in 100 languages. Translation systems struggled to keep up. Some species stood from their seats. Others made distress signals. Axe raised one crystalline arm. Slowly, the noise died down. He looked at Daniel with what might have been confusion. I do not understand, Axe said. Perhaps the translation was incorrect. Did you say no? I did, Daniel confirmed. Humanity declines your offer. We will not pay tribute. We will not surrender our sovereignty. We will not join the council under these terms. This is unprecedented, Axe said. His voice had lost its warmth. You do not seem to understand the situation, Ambassador. This is not a negotiation. These are the terms. Every species accepts them. There is no alternative. Then we are the first, Daniel said simply. A representative from the Confederacy stood. His multiple limbs waved in agitation. You doom your species to isolation, to economic collapse. Do you understand what you are refusing? I understand exactly what we are refusing, Daniel replied. He turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. We are refusing to give up our freedom. We are refusing to let others dictate what we can produce, what we can keep, who we must send to fight in your wars. We are refusing to become dependent on a system designed to keep us in our place. You speak of freedom, another representative called out, but you offer your people only hardship. My people know hardship, Daniel said. His voice grew stronger. Earth is not an easy world. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Ice ages, droughts, predators, diseases, earthquakes and volcanoes and storms that could level cities. We did not grow up safe. We grew up fighting. Lisa activated her data pad. Images appeared on the viewing screens around the chamber. Earth's history played out in rapid sequence. Humans hunting in the snow, building shelters against impossible cold, surviving plagues that killed millions, fighting wars that the planet. We fought each other for thousands of years, Daniel continued. We learned every possible way that power could corrupt. We built empires and watched them fall. We enslaved our own kind and then fought wars to free them. We nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times, but we learned. We learned that freedom matters, that dignity matters, that no one has the right to rule over others without their consent. The chamber was quiet now. Some representatives watched with interest, others with growing alarm. "Your tribute system is not protection," Daniel said. "It is control. You take our resources so we cannot build our own strength. You take our soldiers so we cannot defend ourselves. You take our technology so we remain dependent on yours. This is not civilization. This is tyranny with good manners." Axe's crystalline body darkened. "You are naive, Ambassador. The galaxy is dangerous. Without council protection, your species will not survive." "Then we will die free," Daniel said flatly. "But I do not think we will die, because I think you need us more than we need you." "Explain this absurd statement," Axe demanded. "How long has it been since the council fought a real war?" Daniel asked. "Not a police action against some minor species, a real war against an equal enemy." Silence answered him. 3,000 years, Lisa said, reading from her data pad. "The last major conflict ended 3 ago. Since then you have had peace. Comfortable, profitable peace. Your species have forgotten how to fight." "We have not forgotten," Axe insisted. "We simply have no need." "Because everyone pays tribute," Daniel said. "Because no one dares challenge you. But what happens when someone does? What happens when you face an enemy that does not care about your ancient laws and your council votes?" A small voice spoke from the lower tiers. "They threaten us." Everyone turned. Ambassador of the species stood. He was small compared to most representatives, his green scales dull in the bright lights. His people paid heavy tribute for little benefit. "Ambassador," Axe said, warning in his tone, but continued. "The humans speak truth. We pay, and what do we receive? The right to exist, the permission to trade. We have become weak, all of us. We depend on the council for everything. If the tribute stopped, what would we do? How would we survive?" "You survive because of the tribute system," Axe said coldly. "Remember your place, Ambassador." "My place," said quietly, "is on my knees, as is everyone here except the founding council members." Daniel saw it then, the thing he had suspected but not been certain of. The chamber was not united. It was divided. A few species at the top, powerful and ancient, and hundreds of others below, paying tribute, accepting their place in the hierarchy. "How many of you are happy with this system?" Daniel asked the chamber at large. "How many of you think the tribute is fair? How many of you want something different but are afraid to speak?" No one answered, but Daniel saw it in their faces, in their body language. Dozens of species looked away. Some shifted in their seats. The silence itself was an answer. "Earth offers you an alternative," Daniel said. "Stand with us. Refuse the tribute. Build something new based on cooperation instead of control. Trade as equals. Defend each other as allies, not subjects." "This is sedition," Axe declared. "You will cease this immediately." "Or what?" Daniel asked. "You will make an example of us. Then do it. Send your fleet, try to conquer Earth. But know this, if you come for us, we will fight, and we know how to fight." "Your species has a few dozen ships," Axe said. "We have thousands. You cannot win." "Winning is not always about numbers," Daniel said. "It is about will, about determination, about refusing to submit no matter the cost. Those are things my species learned a long time ago." Axe was silent for a long moment. The rainbow light from his body had turned a deep, angry red. "Very well," he said finally. "You have chosen your path. The Council will give you 10 planetary cycles to reconsider. If you do not accept the tribute terms by then, Earth will be considered hostile territory. Your ships will be impounded. Your system will be blockaded. Your species will learn what happens to those who defy the Council." "We will be ready," Daniel said. "You will be crushed," Axe replied. "Take your ship and go. When you return, you will beg for the terms I offered today." The platform lowered. Daniel and Lisa walked toward the exit. As they passed through the tiers of seats, several representatives met their eyes, fear in some, respect in others. and in a few something that looked like hope. Ambassador stood as they passed. He did not speak, but he placed his hand over his heart in what Daniel recognized as a gesture of respect. Back on their ship, as they prepared to depart, Lisa pulled up the sensor readings. 15 ships just broke from Council escort formations, she said. They are heading back to their home systems. Deserters, Daniel asked. Or people going home to have the same conversation we are about to have, Lisa said. Daniel looked at the Council station one last time as they pulled away. It looked less impressive now, less inevitable. It looked like what it was, an old system held together by fear and tradition, and old systems could break. Send the message to Earth, Daniel said. Tell them to prepare, tell them the Council is coming, and tell them that we are not alone anymore. News reached Earth before Daniel's ship did. Within hours, every human on the planet knew that the Galactic Council had issued an ultimatum: 10 days to submit or face military action. The reaction was not panic, it was anger. President Helen Carter stood in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching status reports flood in from around the globe. Military Commander Victor Hayes stood beside her, his weathered face calm despite the chaos of preparation happening all around them. How long until the Council fleet arrives? Helen asked. Best estimate 8 days, Victor replied. They are taking their time. They want us to feel the pressure, to break before they even get here. Will we be ready? Victor pulled up a tactical display. Earth appeared in the center, surrounded by concentric rings showing defensive positions. We have been preparing for hostile first contact since we achieved faster-than-light travel. The question is not whether we are ready. The question is whether we are ready enough. Helen looked at the display. Their fleet was tiny compared to Council numbers, but she had read the reports. She knew what humanity had been building in secret for decades. Show me everything, she said. No more secrets. I need to know exactly what we have. Victor nodded and began pulling up files. What Helen saw made her breath catch. Far beyond Earth's orbit in the asteroid belt, construction platforms came online. They had been disguised as mining operations for years. Now they revealed their true purpose: weapons platforms, defense grids, ship fabrication facilities that had been building humanity's hidden fleet piece by piece. How many ships? Helen asked. The public fleet has 73 vessels, Victor said. Cruisers, destroyers, patrol craft, what the Council knows about. But in the belt, we have been building something else. He highlighted a section of the display. 140 combat-ready vessels, not large but fast and heavily armed, plus 300 automated defense drones that can be piloted remotely. You kept this from the Council. We kept it from everyone, Victor admitted. Call it paranoia or call it wisdom. Either way, we are not as weak as they think. Helen felt a weight lift from her chest. They still had no chance in a straight fight, but they had something, a chance, a possibility. Across the planet, the mobilization was already. Price worked in Earth's intelligence headquarters, analyzing every piece of data they had on Council military tactics. Her team had hacked into Council communications during Daniel's visit. Not enough to learn military secrets, but enough to understand how Council forces operated. They have not fought a real war in 3,000 years, told her analysts. Their tactics are ancient. They rely on overwhelming force and superior technology. They expect enemies to surrender before the fight begins. What about their actual combat capability? One analyst asked. Unknown, admitted. Their weapons are more advanced than ours. Their shields are better, but their crews lack experience. Most of them have never seen combat. They run drills and patrols, but they have never faced an enemy that fights back. So we use tactics they do not expect, another analyst suggested. Exactly, we use our history, guerrilla warfare, hit-and-run attacks, make them fight on our terms, not theirs. In orbit, construction crews worked around the clock. Engineer Sanders led a team retrofitting civilian cargo ships. They removed cargo bays and installed weapons. They added armor plating scavenged from mining equipment. The ships would never match Council cruisers in firepower, but they would add numbers to the fleet. "How many can we convert?" his supervisor asked. 43 cargo haulers, said, checking his list. Another 20 passenger transports. They will not survive long in a direct fight, but they can carry drones and missiles, make the Council fleet work for every meter of space. On the Moon, weapons installations came online. Humanity had been fortifying their natural satellites since the first colony was established. Now those fortifications revealed their full extent. Missile silos hidden in craters, rail gun batteries positioned to fire at any ship approaching Earth, underground hangars filled with fighter craft. Commander Susan Blake oversaw the Moon's defenses. She watched her tactical board light up as systems reported ready status. "The Moon is now a fortress," she reported to Earth Command. "Any ship trying to reach Earth will have to go through us first, and we have enough ammunition to make them regret it." But not all of Earth's preparation was military. Dr. Foster organized medical teams at hospitals around the globe. They set up triage centers. They stockpiled supplies. They trained for mass casualties, hoping they would never be needed. "If this goes wrong," told her staff, "we need to be ready to save as many lives as possible, not just soldiers, civilians, anyone caught in the crossfire." Her teams worked with quiet efficiency. They knew the stakes. If Earth lost, the Council might not be gentle with the survivors. In schools, teachers like Phillips faced the hardest task of all, explaining to children why their world was about to go to war. "Are the aliens bad?" one student asked. "They think they are good," said carefully. "They think they are bringing order and peace, but they want to control us, and we cannot let anyone control us, no matter how powerful they are." "Are we going to win?" Looked at the young faces watching him. He wanted to promise victory, to tell them everything would be fine, but he respected them too much to lie. "I do not know," he said honestly, "but I know we will fight, and sometimes fighting for what is right matters more than winning." The children were quiet. Then one girl raised her hand. "My dad is in the fleet. He said he would rather die free than live on his knees." "Your father is a wise man," said softly. As the days passed, Earth transformed. Production facilities worked without rest. Volunteers flooded into military training centers. The planet that had once fought itself now stood united against an outside threat. Daniel's ship returned on the third day. He went immediately to meet with the President and her Council. "The Council is sending General," Daniel reported. "He commands their enforcement fleet. 600 ships, maybe more. They will arrive in 5 days. 600, Victor repeated. He looked at his tactical display. "Against our 200 actual combat vessels and however many converted civilian ships we can field." "The numbers are not in our favor," Helen agreed. But Daniel's speech in the Council chamber had an effect. 15 species have already withdrawn from Council space. More are considering it. "That helps politically," Victor said, "but it does not change the immediate military situation. We are still facing 3-to-1 odds at best." Entered the room carrying a data pad. "I have something. It might help." She displayed her findings. The Council fleet moves in tight formations. Standard battle doctrine from thousands of years ago. They keep their ships close together for mutual protection and concentrated firepower. "Okay," Helen said. "How does that help us?" "Tight formations are vulnerable to area weapons," explained. "Mines, guided munitions, even debris can cause chain reaction damage. They are thinking like a police force, not a military. They expect to intimidate, not fight." "So we turn their strength into a weakness," Victor said, understanding. "We mine the approaches to Earth, force them to spread out or take casualties, make them fight the way we want them to fight." Can we deploy enough mines in time? Helen asked. The belt fabricators are already producing them, Victor confirmed. We will have thousands ready by the time they arrive. Daniel looked at the Earth visible through the command center's windows. His blue and green and beautiful, worth fighting for, worth dying for if necessary. There is something else, he said. Ambassador of the contacted me privately. He says 7 species are ready to openly support us if we survive the first attack, but they cannot help us publicly until we prove we can actually fight back. So we need to win the first battle, Helen said, or at least not lose completely. Exactly. Helen looked at each person in the room, her military commander, her intelligence chief, her ambassador, good people all of them, people who had worked their entire lives to bring humanity to the stars. Now they would discover if humanity deserved to keep what they had earned. Send the message to the fleet, Helen ordered. Battle stations. All civilian traffic is to evacuate the inner system immediately. Get our people to safety. And the council, Daniel asked, do we try to negotiate? We tried negotiating, Helen said. They issued an ultimatum, so now we give them our answer, the same answer we gave them before. No, we will not submit, we will not surrender. If they want Earth, they will have to take it from us. Orders went out across the system. Ships moved into position, weapons armed, mines deployed in carefully calculated patterns. Volunteers joined professional soldiers on every vessel. Captain Foster stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Defiance, watching his crew prepare. His ship was one of the newer ones, built in the Hidden Belt shipyards. Fast, tough, and designed for one purpose, to make any enemy pay for every inch of space they claimed. All stations report ready, sir, his executive officer reported. Good, said. He looked at the tactical display showing the outer system. Somewhere out there, the Council fleet was coming. 600 ships carrying the weight of galactic civilization, coming to crush humanity's rebellion before it could inspire others. They think we will break, said to his crew. They think we are just another species that will bow down when shown the stick. They do not understand us. They do not know what humans are capable of when their backs are against the wall. He activated the ship-wide communication. We are about to face the biggest fleet in known space. We are outnumbered. We are, by every logical measure, we should lose this fight. But logic does not account for human stubbornness. It does not measure our refusal to quit. So when they come, we show them what Earth is made of. We show them what happens when you threaten our home. We make them remember this day for the rest of their civilization. The crew cheered, not because they thought they would win, but because they knew they were fighting for something that mattered. 5 days after the ultimatum, sensors detected the Council fleet entering the solar system. 617 ships, the largest military force assembled in 3,000 years, all coming to force one small planet to kneel. On Earth in the command center, Helen Carter took a deep breath. Here they come, Victor said quietly. Then let them come, Helen replied. Send to all ships, hold the line, make them fight for every meter, show them what humans are made of. Across the system, weapons came online. Crews took their positions, and humanity prepared to fight for its freedom against impossible odds. The war for Earth's independence had begun. The Council fleet arrived like a hammer falling from heaven. 617 ships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. They formed up in perfect geometric patterns, a display of power meant to intimidate before a shot was fired. General commanded from his flagship, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed anything humanity had built. He was a veteran of countless police actions, a four-armed warrior from a species that prided itself on military tradition. He expected this to be simple, a show of force, a few warning shots, then surrender and occupation. Open a channel to Earth, he ordered. His voice carried the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. Let us give them one final chance. On Earth, in the command center, President Helen Carter received the transmission. General's image appeared on the main screen. "Humans of Earth," he began, "this is your final opportunity. Submit to Council authority. Accept the tribute terms. Your defiance ends now, or we will end it for you. You have one standard hour to respond." Helen looked at the tactical displays. The Council fleet filled the outer system. Even with their hidden ships and defenses, humanity was outnumbered 3-1. Any rational analysis said they could not win. She thought about Daniel's speech in the council chamber, about the other species watching to see if defiance was possible, about what would happen to humanity if they surrendered now. "Send our response," Helen said. The transmission went out across all frequencies, not just to the council fleet, but to every species monitoring the situation. Helen's face appeared on screens across the galaxy. "General, the Galactic Council, to all species watching this moment, Earth's answer is the same as it was before. No, we will not submit. We will not pay tribute. We will not surrender our freedom. If you want our world, come and take it." She cut the transmission. On his flagship's face hardened. "Very well, all ships advance. Standard enforcement formation. Weapons free when we reach optimal range. Let us teach these primitives the price of defiance." The Council fleet moved forward. They maintained tight formations, ships clustered together for maximum firepower. Their shields shimmered with power. Their weapons charged. They looked invincible. They entered the orbit of Neptune. Nothing happened. No response from human forces. "Where are they?" demanded. "Scan for ships." "Only a handful of scouts detected, General," his sensor officer reported. "They are falling back toward the inner system." "They run," said with satisfaction. "Continue advance." But Commander Victor Hayes, watching from Earth's command center, smiled grimly. They took the bait, now. Hidden throughout the outer system, thousands of mines activated. They had been placed carefully over the past days, using human knowledge of orbital mechanics and debris patterns. Now they came to life, their sensors locking onto the tightly packed Council formations. The first mine struck a Council destroyer on the fleet's left flank. The explosion ripped through its shields. Before the fleet could react, a dozen more mines found targets. Ships broke formation, trying to avoid the invisible threats. "Mines," someone shouted on's bridge. "The system is mined." "Impossible," snarled. "They only had days to prepare." "Nevertheless, General, we have multiple ships reporting damage." The Council fleet slowed. Ships spread out, scanning for threats. Their perfect formations became scattered clusters, and in that moment of confusion, the human fleet struck. From behind Neptune, from the asteroid belt, from positions concealed throughout the system, human ships appeared. They were smaller than Council vessels, but fast and aggressive. They did not try to match the Council fleet strength for strength. Instead, they swarmed. Captain Foster led the first wave in the Defiance. His ship dove through Council formations, firing missiles and rail gun rounds, then accelerating away before return fire could lock on. "Keep moving," shouted to his crew. "Do not give them a stationary target. Hit and run, make them chase us." Other human ships followed his example. They struck from unexpected angles. They used the system's natural features for cover. They fought like wasps attacking a bear, each sting too small to kill but together creating chaos and pain. Pilot Jennifer flew a small fighter craft in a squadron with 11 others. They targeted the Council fleet's sensor arrays, blinding their enemies ship by ship. "Alpha Wing on me," Jennifer called, targeting the Big One's communications tower. Her squadron dove towards flagship. Point defense systems filled the space around them with fire. 2 fighters exploded, but the rest got through, their weapons ripping into the flagship's communications array. Aboard the flagship, alarms blared. "Communications down," an officer reported. We have lost contact with fleet elements. Restore it, ordered, and return fire, kill these insects. But killing the human ships proved difficult. They refused to engage in direct combat. They struck and fled. They used mines and missiles instead of ship-to-ship weapons. They fought with tactics the Council had not seen in. Greg, an engineer aboard a converted cargo vessel, kept his ship running through damage that should have crippled it. Wiring sparked. Hull breaches vented atmosphere. But he patched and repaired and improvised, keeping the weapons systems online. "We are not supposed to be able to take this kind of punishment," his captain said. "Then somebody forgot to tell the ship," Greg replied, rerouting power through damaged systems. "We will keep fighting until we cannot fight anymore." The battle raged for hours. The Council fleet pushed forward, but slowly, painfully. Every kilometer cost them ships. Every advance met with human resistance. They were winning, they had more ships, more firepower, but they were paying a price they had not expected to pay. On Earth, Price watched the tactical displays and made rapid calculations. "They are still advancing. We are hurting them, but not enough." "Recommendations?" Helen asked. The Moon said, "We need to draw them into the Moon's defensive range. Once they are committed, we hit them with everything." "That means letting them get close to Earth," Victor said. "I know," replied, "but we need to hurt them badly enough that they reconsider. Right now, they still think they can win easily. We need to show them the true cost." Helen made the decision. Pull the fleet back, lead them to the Moon, prepare all planetary defenses. The human ships began a fighting retreat. The Council fleet, sensing victory, pressed forward with renewed aggression. They entered the orbit of Mars, then Earth's orbit. The blue planet hung before them, vulnerable and exposed. "Final assault," ordered. "All ships prepare to bombard military targets. We will break their will to resist." The Council fleet moved toward Earth, and directly into the Moon's firing arc. Commander Susan Blake watched from the Lunar Command Center as hundreds of enemy ships entered her range. All batteries, weapons free, fire. The Moon's surface erupted with light. Rail guns fired solid slugs at relativistic speeds. Missile silos emptied their payloads. Energy weapons, hidden in craters for decades, came online and struck Council ships with focused destruction. The Council fleet reeled, ships exploded, shields failed, the formation collapsed into chaos. Where did all this firepower come from? Someone screamed on the Council command channel. Stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The humans had not run. They had led him into a trap. The Moon itself was a weapon, and he had flown his fleet directly into its sights. All ships' evasive maneuvers, break off the attack. But it was too late. The human fleet, which had been retreating, now turned and attacked. Caught between the Moon's defenses and the aggressive human ships, the Council fleet found itself in a crossfire. Foster saw his opportunity. A Council battleship had been damaged by lunar fire, its shields down. It was preparing to fire on Earth cities, a desperation move to force surrender. "All power to engines," ordered. "We are ramming that battleship." "Captain, we cannot survive that," his executive officer protested. "I know," said, his voice was calm. "Sound evacuation, get the crew to the escape pods. I will stay and guide us in." "Sir, you do not have to do this." Looked at his young officer. "Yes, I do. That battleship is about to kill millions of people. We can stop it, so we stop it." The crew evacuated in pods while stayed at the helm. The Defiance accelerated, burning through its reserves, aiming directly for the battleship's weapon systems. Council point defense fire struck his ship. Armor peeled away. Systems failed, but the Defiance kept coming. The impact was catastrophic. The Defiance struck the battleship's main guns and both ships erupted in fire. Foster died instantly, but the battleship's weapons were destroyed and Earth cities were spared. Across the system, everyone saw the explosion. human and alien alike. One ship, one captain, sacrificing everything to protect his home. On his flagship, General watched in shock. He destroyed his own ship to disable ours. For the first time in his long career, felt something he had not felt in combat before. Fear. Not fear of death. Fear of an enemy that would do anything, sacrifice anything, to win. An enemy that could not be intimidated because they valued freedom more than life. General, his tactical officer said quietly, we have lost 83 ships. 94 more are heavily damaged. Enemy forces are still combat effective, and they are not stopping. Looked at Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel, so small, so primitive, and yet so fierce. Signal to all ships, he said slowly. Cease fire, halt the advance. Sorry. I said cease fire. We need to reconsider our approach. The battle stopped. Council ships retreated to the outer orbits. Human ships held their positions, battered but unbroken. In the command center, Helen Carter allowed herself to breathe. Status. We lost 42 ships, Victor reported. Including the Defiance, Captain Foster did not survive. Helen closed her eyes briefly. So much sacrifice, so much loss, but Earth still stood, free and defiant. The Council fleet has stopped, reported. They are holding position beyond the moon's range. Are they withdrawing? No, but they are not attacking either. I think we hurt them. I think they did not expect this kind of fight. Helen looked at the displays. The Council fleet was larger, yes, but it was no longer confident, no longer certain of easy victory. Open a channel to General, she said. Let us see if we can talk instead of fight. The word had reached across the galaxy during the battle. Other species watched. They saw the Council fleet stopped. They saw one small planet refusing to submit, and they began to wonder, if humanity could do it, could they? The ceasefire held for 3 days. Council ships remained at the outer system's edge, damaged but still powerful. Human forces maintained defensive positions, ready to fight again if necessary. Both sides watched each other with wary respect. On the 3rd day, General requested a meeting. Not in the council chamber, not on his flagship. On neutral ground, aboard a small diplomatic vessel at the midpoint between the two fleets. President Helen Carter agreed. She took Daniel Brooks with her along with Commander Victor Hayes. When they arrived, was already waiting. The four-armed general looked different from his initial transmission. Less confident, more thoughtful. President Carter, he said, his voice formal. Ambassador Brooks, Commander Hayes, thank you for meeting with me. General, Helen replied. She sat across from him in the small conference room. You asked for this meeting. We are listening. Was silent for a moment. Then he spoke carefully. I have fought in 47 enforcement actions, police operations against minor species who counsel law. They all surrendered when they saw our fleet, or they surrendered after the first battle. Your species is different. We are human, Daniel said simply. We do not surrender easily. I understand that now, said Captain Foster's sacrifice. He destroyed his ship to protect your cities. In council space, such an act would be considered madness. Who sacrifices themselves for others? Anyone who loves their home more than their own life, Helen said. It is not madness, it is courage. His face showed something that might have been shame. We call ourselves civilized. We pride ourselves on order and law, but we have forgotten what civilization should protect. We have become comfortable, weak, comfortable in our power over others. Why are you telling us this? Victor asked, his military instincts alert for a trap. Because I cannot continue this battle, said. He pulled up a data display. I have received messages from the Council. They order me to continue the attack, to crush your resistance, to make an example that will prevent other species from following your lead. Will you obey? Helen asked. I do not know, admitted. For 3,000 years I have followed council orders without question, but now I question. You spoke of tyranny, Ambassador Brooks. I have spent my life enforcing that tyranny. I see that now. What changed? Daniel asked. Your people changed me, said. I watched your ships fight against impossible odds. I watched Captain Foster sacrifice his life. I watched your species unite not through fear or force but through shared purpose. That is real civilization, not the tribute system, not the Council's control. He stood and walked to the viewport looking at the distant Earth. If I order my fleet to attack again, we will eventually win. We still outnumber you, but the cost will be terrible. Thousands of my soldiers will die. And for what? To force you to pay tribute, to make you submit. Is that worth so much death? Helen stood and joined him at the viewport. General, you are a warrior. So am I in my own way. We both know that some things are worth fighting for. Freedom is one of them, but there is something else worth considering. The galaxy does not have to be this way. The Council does not have to rule through tribute and fear. You propose an alternative? Asked. Cooperation, Daniel said. Trade between equals, mutual defense agreements. A coalition of free species, not subject states. Earth would be part of that. So would any other species that wanted something different. The Council would never accept such a thing. The Council does not have a choice anymore, Victor said. He activated his own data pad. While we have been fighting, 15 species have declared independence. They are refusing to pay tribute. 50 more are considering it. What you call defiance is spreading. Looked at the data in shock. This is a revolution. This is evolution, Helen corrected. The galaxy is changing. The old system is dying. The question is what comes next. You can be part of that change or you can try to stop it and fail. What would you have me do? Order your fleet to stand down, Helen said. Return to Council space. Tell them Earth cannot be conquered easily. Tell them the cost is too high. Give us time to build this new coalition. They will call me a traitor, said. They will call you wise, Daniel replied. History will remember you as the general who chose peace over pointless war. Was silent for a long time. Then he made his decision. Very well, I will withdraw, but know this, President Carter. The Council will not forget. They will send others. Perhaps they will send a larger fleet. Let them, Helen said. Each time they try, more species will see that the Council can be resisted. Eventually, the Council itself will change or it will fall apart. 3 days later, the Council fleet departed Earth's system. They did not leave in victory but in reluctant withdrawal. Human ships escorted them to the system's edge, a gesture of respect rather than hostility. As the last Council ship disappeared, celebrations erupted across Earth. People danced in the streets. Cities lit up with fireworks. The impossible had happened. Earth had said no to the galaxy's greatest power and survived. But in the command center, Helen and her advisors knew the work was just beginning. Ambassador has sent a message, Daniel reported. The Confederacy formally declares independence from the Council. They want to join Earth in forming a new alliance. How many others? Helen asked. 12 species so far, Daniel said, with more arriving every day. They are calling it the Free Species Coalition. We need a proper structure, said. Rules of membership, trade agreements, mutual defense pacts. This cannot be informal. And we need to be careful, Victor warned. The Council will try to undermine us. They will use economic pressure, political manipulation, anything to break this coalition before it becomes strong. Helen looked at her team. They were exhausted. The battle had cost so much. Captain Foster was not the only hero who had died. 42 ships lost, hundreds of people killed, thousands injured. The price of freedom had been high. But it had been worth it. Start drafting the coalition charter, Helen ordered. Daniel, you will be our ambassador. Work with and the other species. Build something real, something that can last. What about Earth? Asked. We took heavy damage. Our fleet is in pieces. We rebuild, Helen said simply. Stronger than before. We help our new allies build their own defenses. We share what we learned. We make sure no one faces the Council alone. 6 months later, the Free Species Coalition held its first official meeting. 50 species sent representatives. They gathered not in some ancient council chamber but in a new station, built cooperatively in neutral space. The Coalition Station, they called it, a symbol of what could be achieved through cooperation rather than control. Ambassador Daniel Brooks stood before the assembly. Behind him, representatives from Earth and dozens of other species, each one a story of defiance, each one proof that the old system could be challenged. "We are here because Earth said no," Daniel began. But that no was not just for Earth. It was for every species tired of paying tribute, every civilization that wanted to be free, every person who believed that freedom matters more than safety bought with submission. The assembly listened in silence. "The Galactic Council still exists," Daniel continued. "Many species remain with them by choice or by fear. We do not seek to destroy the Council. We seek to offer an alternative, a place where species trade as equals, where strength comes from cooperation, not domination, where no one pays tribute to anyone." "What about defense?" one representative asked. "The Council has the largest fleet in the galaxy." "We build our own," Victor said, standing. "Earth is sharing its defensive technology with all coalition members. We train together. We defend each other. An attack on one is an attack on all. The Council can defeat one species. They cannot defeat 50 united." "And trade?" another asked. "The Council controls the major trade routes." "We create new ones," said a representative from the merchant species of. "Coalition members trade freely among themselves. No tariffs, no restrictions. Our combined markets rival the Council's." The meeting continued for days. They drafted agreements, established rules, created the foundation of something new, not perfect. Nothing ever was, but better than the tribute system, better than rule by fear. A year after the battle for Earth, the Coalition had grown to 78 species. They controlled a third of known space. The Council still existed, but reformed. The tribute system ended. Species paid taxes to fund Council operations, but fairly, with representation and oversight. Axe, the ancient Council speaker, resigned. Ambassador took his place, the first leader from a former tribute species. The Council slowly transformed from an empire into a true federation. On Earth, a memorial was built to honor those who died in the battle. Captain Foster's name was carved first, but not alone. Every person who gave their life for Earth's freedom was remembered. Helen Carter stood before the memorial on the anniversary of the battle. With her stood Lisa Morgan, now a senior coalition diplomat. Price, promoted to intelligence director. Greg, who had kept impossible ships running. Jennifer, now training coalition fighter pilots. "We paid a high price," Helen said quietly. "But we won something priceless," Lisa replied. "Freedom, not just for us, for everyone who wanted it." They stood in silence, remembering. Then Helen looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, coalition ships flew alongside former enemies. Species that had once paid tribute now stood as equals. The galaxy had changed, not through conquest but through courage. One word had started it all. A word the Council thought no species would dare to say. A word that shook the foundations of galactic order. No. Such a simple word. But spoken at the right moment, with the willingness to back it up, it had changed everything. Daniel stood on the coalition station, looking out at the stars. Ambassador joined him, the green scales reflecting the starlight. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had said yes?" asked. "Sometimes," Daniel admitted. "Life would have been easier, safer. But not free. No, not free." They watched ships from a dozen species dock at the station. Trade vessels, diplomats, students coming to study at the Coalition's new universities. Life continuing, growing, evolving. "The Council thought fear would keep everyone in line," said. They forgot that there are things worth fearing more than death, living without freedom, kneeling when you should stand, being something less than you could be. Humanity has known that for a long time, Daniel said. We learned it in thousands of years of struggle. Now we share that lesson with anyone who wants to learn. The galaxy will never be the same. No, Daniel agreed, it will be better. The stars shone above them, infinite and eternal. Once they had seemed full of threats and dangers. Now they were full of possibilities, species trading and learning from each other, cooperation instead of conquest, freedom instead of tribute. It had started with one small planet refusing to bow, with one word spoken in defiance, with ordinary people making extraordinary sacrifices, with the understanding that some things were worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Earth had said no to tyranny, and in doing so had said yes to a better future, not just for humanity, but for every species brave enough to stand up and claim their freedom. The revolution was not won in a single battle. It would take generations to build the galaxy they imagined, but it had begun, and once begun, it could not be stopped. Humanity had given the galaxy a gift, not technology or weapons or resources. They had given something more valuable: hope, the knowledge that change was possible, that the old ways did not have to be forever, that courage and determination could overcome any power. And across the stars, species that had lived in submission for thousands of years looked up and wondered, if Earth could do it, could they? The answer they were discovering was yes, they could, they would, and together they would build something the galaxy had never seen before, a true civilization of free peoples, standing together not through force but through choice. It had all started with one word, but it would end with millions of voices, all saying the same thing. We are free, and no one will ever take that from us again.